Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we are going to make some sourdough sandwich bread. As always, the recipe will be linked down below in the description box, and we are going to start off with some coconut oil. We also have honey, flour, salt, and some water, and of course my sourdough starter. I'm going to start off by adding the coconut oil and then the honey to the bowl before adding some of my sourdough starter, and then letting that kind of mix up a little bit with the water for maybe 30 seconds so it can kind of come together in the bowl. Once that is done, I'm going to start adding my flour in parts. I'm going to do 2 parts of flour at first and let it get a little bit jaggy, and then add the remaining 2 cups of flour, and then let it mix for about 10 or 15 minutes until the dough gets really nice and glossy. You want this to pass the window pane test, which basically, I show it a little bit here. You want the dough to spread out thin enough without breaking or ripping, but also being slightly transparent as well. So that's what I'm testing here, and I try to show you guys a little bit of how that would look, how the dough pulls and it doesn't break, but it still can be kind of thin and see-through. That is the window pane test. Once I have determined that it is mixed well enough and it is a nice glossy beautiful dough, I'm going to take the bowl off of the mixer and just put plastic wrap on top so it doesn't form a skin, and then cover it with a tea towel and throw it in my oven overnight with the oven off and let it double in size. And then the next morning, I was very tired when I did this and I forgot this step, but you're going to want to oil your pan so that way the bread doesn't stick so much. I forgot to oil and it didn't really stick a ton, but I've made this before in the past with oiling the pan and it doesn't stick nearly as bad. So make sure you oil your pan. I usually just use coconut oil. So I'm going to turn out my dough here onto my floured board and then get it into a rough rectangle shape before I start pulling all the corners into the center of the dough and then starting to roll it up basically like a big burrito. I kept this in real time so you can see exactly how I do it, exactly the pace in which I do it, and how much attention I put into making sure the corners and all the edges get rounded in so it makes a smoother dough overall with less weird ripples and swirls throughout the dough that you don't really want in a sandwich bread. I take my time, like I said, as a burrito and really roll it up nice and tight before sealing off the bottom edges a little bit and then adding it to my glass pan. And then I let it bulk again in the stove while it's off. My house was particularly cold this day, so I ended up taking it out of the oven after a little while, putting it on top with the oven on low just to get it a little bit warmer in there so that way it could bulk proof a little bit more. And then once it doubled in size, I threw it in my preheated oven and then baked it until it was golden brown. And look at this bread. And this recipe is so good every single time without fail. Once the bread cools just a little bit, maybe after 10 minutes or so, you want to get it out of the pan. If you leave it in the pan, all the condensation from the heat will start to make the bottom soggy, and you don't want that. So as soon as you're able to, and again when your pan is oiled, this makes it a lot easier, turn out the bread onto a surface where there's a wire rack so it can cool completely without getting a soggy bottom. And then once your bread cools completely, you can cut it up and slice it up and serve it. This is such a good, easy bread to make. I ended up making some turkey BLTs or a turkey club sandwich and enjoyed a dinner that was very delicious with some homemade sourdough bread. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. I make 2 new videos every single week on all things sourdough, homemaking, and country living. I appreciate every single one of you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.